Hello, my name is Dee and I am that black nurse. I'm here to record a video real quick about the lock and the sock. And I'm going to give a shout out to Leslie Howard Falls for having me to do these stories about racism and to express my thoughts about people that are. Please do support the channel, subscribe. I'm not asking for any monetary means, although I need them. But also go to my Facebook page of Nurses Against Racism and become a subscriber there, please, just to show support. Also, give a shout out to my young man, and there is like 12 or 13 years old with the shackles around his ankles. This is where I don't want to go back to, and I'm praying that people see this and will rethink, prison and rethink, about living your life instead of winding up like this. In the New Day terms of having shackles around your waist, your wrist, and your ankles, there's more to life than staying in prison. So anyway, this is my first job as a registered nurse in a prison system. So I wasn't used to the dynamics, but I do know when you talk about gang affiliation, when people talk about that, it's a big deal for them. It's their life. But what I want to tell people is remember, when you kill somebody, you took a life, your life is gone. No more, you can come in hollering your gang rep all day long, but your life, day-to-day life, is gone. There's no more partying. There's no more hanging out with your friends. There's no more cookouts. There's not any more go see my family, my mama, my sister, my brother, my cousin. And if they come and see you, it's a miracle, or just the fact that they love you and they want to make sure you're okay. But at the end of the day, they leave and you stay there. You go back to your room and you cry, and I have seen it. Believe me, there are a lot of people there that are on medication to keep them from killing themselves. So, and their psyche is never the same, to be honest with you. And those prisoners or inmates or offenders, they call different names down here now in North Carolina. Is that the name going to change what they did? I don't understand. But the fact of the matter is, you're not going, you're there. Your mind is gone. You go manic, you hear voices. It's so many things I could tell you. But anyway. So this young man came in with the yelling and cursing and going on and doing all the everything that he shouldn't have been doing. And I took him to the side to talk to him because I wanted him to understand where he was at. He said, "Oh, no, sure, I've been here before. I know." And I looked at him. I said, "You've been here before and you came back?" And he was like, "Yeah, they got me on possession, small stuff." So I didn't ask him what the possession was. I'm thinking drugs, but anyway, I didn't care. I was just like, "You're back here? You're what? You're back here? That's where you at? What?" So anyway, had to take his blood work. We did that, and because everybody coming to the facility does that, have to do that, and H&P and all of that. So the young man kept yelling his gang, and it's about 5'3", like I said, yeah, 5'3", maybe $125, $150 at the most. But he was out there, and it was this one gang member told him to sit down and shut the F up. He told him straight out. He said, "I don't want to hear all that." He said, "Who the F are you?" And then they started going at it word for word. But the inmate that told him to shut the F up, he didn't get up. He didn't move. He didn't do anything. He just sat there. All the other inmates that was out there straightened up. Like, their back, you know how people just slump over and whatnot and mess with their fingers, maybe and maybe not talk. He had some type of authority about himself to where everybody sat straight up, pushed their back to the wall. And I'm thinking, well, maybe they're getting ready to fight or something. I don't know. I don't know the dynamics, you know what I'm saying? So the officer was like, "No, sure, I'll go into the nurse's station." And I did. And he told the young man to sit his hips down and, be quiet. Man, he sat down, but he wasn't quiet. He said, "You wait till we get to the unit. I'll show you this, that, and the other." So anyway, they left. Had to go to the unit, and I had to walk with them. I got a little pissed about that because I was like, "Why am I walking with them? What I got to do with anything?" He said, "Well, nurses walk just in case they fall out, because it's hot outside." I'm like, "They're going from A to B. These are young people. What?" And he said, "Well, you still got to go." And so I walked, and he said, "They may get in a fight, may need you. When they get in a fight, they ain't going to need me. They're not going to need me. I ain't doing nothing. I'm standing back. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to look. I'm going to be like, yeah, you go and get them. Go and get them because I'm not jumping in. We're talking about young boys. The young boys, they got energy of no kind. And I'm young. I was young, too, at that time. But I was like, oh, no. No. I said, but I walk with you. Let's go. We got over there to the unit. That particular unit was a quiet unit. It was the unit where if you're good, you don't have to go into a cell. And so they were in that pod, and you had beds in the middle and beds up against the wall. And so it was this one young man, though, very important, one young man sitting in a chair, and all the other inmates was around him in a circle. Nobody else had a chair but him. And they were watching the movie. And so I said, what kind of Indian style mess is this going on up in here? And the officer that was on the unit, he did this. He went, I was like, okay, yeah, what? You telling me to be quiet? I said, it's about time for me to go. You don't tell me what to do. And so they all came on in there, and here he come. Yeah, he came in like an idiot, hollering, and I'm representing, and, who my people up in here, I need to know who my people are, and all this kind of stuff. Nobody said anything. Nobody. Not even me. So I said, well, I'm getting ready to go, because the energy in this room, I ain't feeling this energy. I got to go. Something's going to happen. He said, yeah, you can go. You just had to walk him over here. And I said, yeah, okay. Tell me to go. I'm getting ready. I'm telling you. I'm about to roll the hell on up out of here. So I did. I walked on back over there to the nursing station, and next thing I know, they was calling me on the walkie-talkie, talking about, kick. That's the way things sound. Kick. Now, sure, we need you back over here on, at the pod, and I think it was C pod, but he said, basically, I need you back over here on the pod, and I said, what for? That's what I asked. He said, we just need you back over here. No. What do you need me back over there for? He said, inmate has fallen out, and he's on the ground. I said, well, pick him up, and bring him over here then. And they said, no, Cheryl, get over here with the gurney. I ran over there with the gurney. Okay, got over there, and that young man was on the floor, knocked out. So I was trying to get him to revive. He was still breathing and everything. But I picked him up, helped pick him up, and put him on a gurney, and I got him back over there to the nurse's station. And then I said, what happened? He was knocked out. He was still knocked out. So I kept shaking him to see if I can get him to come back to, whatnot. And they said, well, he was having a seizure on the floor. I said, wouldn't you think to tell me that first? Wouldn't you think that would be common sense to tell me that first? But no. But you got to remember, these people aren't medical. So, but they still could have said that to me. They still could have said, no, sure, he was on the floor seizing. So by the time I got back over there to, literally do a whole full head to toe, because he told me that when I walked off, because I was going to call the doctor. That's what I was going to do. And by the time I walked back to do another look over and do vital signs and everything on him, again, his head is swollen up. Okay, he had a whole melon, right here. And I said, what the hell happened? And so the officer, because I caught him on a little walkie-talkie thing, and he said, I asked him, I said, what actually happened to him? He said, I don't know. He was just found on the floor, Nurse Cheryl. Season. That's all I know. I said, wow. So I just called EMS and told him to come and get him. The chief got mad, but I didn't give a damn, because I'm like, what you want me to do? I can't do nothing for him. If he was seasoned, if he was seasoned, you don't know what he's seasoned from, and I don't know what he's seasoned from either. There's no history, because he just got there. So sent him out. He came back about a month later. Yeah, almost about a month. He recognized who I was. He knew my name. I asked him. He said, yeah, you're Nurse Cheryl. I said, what happened to you? He said, I don't know. I just remember getting hit. I said, where did it hit you at? He said, it hit me in my head. And I fell down and I hit my head. He said, and then I remember people were swinging me around. I said, who? He said, the people. I said, what people? He said, the people over there. I said, okay. How are they swinging you around? He said, by my hair, because he had the thickest dreadlocks. Not even dread. I hate the word dread. They're not dreadful. I love them, but locks, big huge locks on his head. Locks on his head. And they had took two of them. It was swinging him around. And then he showed me the areas on his head. And I'm like, how in the hell did I miss that? They were huge, big circles of hair gone. And usually it's bleeding. Because, you have a lot of capillaries in your head and in your face and your neck. That's why when you get cut or something, it bleeds, 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 and bleeds. Like if you cut yourself with a razor, you bleed. That's why, because you got a lot of capillaries in your face. So my main thing that I was worried about is that big knot on his head. That's pressure on your brain. So once he told me that, I was like, okay. I said, but who hit you? He said, that guy that was in the chair. And I said, the guy in the chair, who is he? I don't know. I don't know who he is. He was very simple-minded when he came back. Sad. Very sad, because I tried to warn him. But he said he took my sock and my lock. He said, put my lock in his sock, and I wanted it back, and he didn't want to give it to me. And so he hit me. And when he hit me, it hurt. And I said, I'm sure it did. And then I hit my head, and then they just started swinging me around. I said, oh. I mean, it sounds like a child. He sounded just like a child. Even now, being a nurse is hard sometimes. Because you just wanted to take him and shake him and tell him, I told you not to do that. So I called the chief and told the chief he can't go back over there to that pod. And he said, but he's going. I said, no, don't send him there, because if you send him there, he'll probably come back even worse than what he is. He said, I've already talked to the young man there, Cheryl. He seems to be fine. I said, he seems to be fine. He's not fine. Did you talk to him prior to him going over there the first time? He said, well, no. I said, well, what you see now is two different, totally different people. And said, what do you suggest we do? Put him in a cell. Put him in a cell, give him some books to read, maybe like a 5th, 6th, 7th grader book. Give him some crayons and coloring utensils, markers or whatever. He's not going to be the same. And he said, oh my gosh, you really think that? I said, yes, I do. And I suggest you not put him over there. So he didn't. He didn't put him over there. But that lock and a sock, and that man sitting in the middle with the only chair and everybody else sitting around him, well, he was the leader of a gang, of course. He was older. He was like 23, 24, bigger, way bigger. And when I talked to the officer, he said, no, Cheryl, he would not shut up. He kept messing up the movie, hollering, and people, told him to sit down and be quiet. And I said, well, why did big guy have to get up and do it? He said that's how he handles things. When you come into, because he considers that to be his pod. And when you come in civilized. He said all the other inmates got it, but he didn't. And so I left. I went into the booth. And by the time I got in the booth, it was all over when I came back out. And he said that's probably like 3 or 4 minutes because I had to use the bathroom. He said that's how fast that happened. I was like, wow. I said, anybody tell on him? No, nobody's going to tell on him. But we already knew. Because that's what he does. And he couldn't watch his movie because the guy was, yelling and screaming and stuff. And we told him to sit down as well, and he wouldn't do it. They stopped the movie, or I stopped the movie, and the movie was stopped after we called you guys to come and get him. Everybody went on lockdown. He went on lockdown too, and he didn't like it, but he had to go. And I said, well, I'm glad I told him not to send him back over there, because he would have been done, like totally done. So the lock and the sock people is just the very beginning of the thing. It's the detriment of what happened to him afterwards. He was never the same. My advice to people that go into prison, I don't care how many times you go, keep your mouth shut. You're already getting ready to be this to the system, and you were that outside of the system. Why do you want to go back in there and give them permission to do it? Permission to be a slave. You give them permission to do so. So I didn't like it. I felt bad, and I hope he's all right somewhere living his life. I don't know. Keep your mouth shut when you go in prison. Don't go in there gloating and boasting your gang affiliation. Just pay attention. Look with your eyes, listen with your ears, and keep your mouth shut. You see and you hear everything. You see who's standing there, who's marking who's saying what, but you don't hear or see any damn thing. Don't come in there and thinking that because you're affiliated with a gang that you're better than another gang. You never know. You never know. That dude sitting in the middle of that chair, he was a big boy. He was the big boss of the unit. Probably shouldn't even been over there, in my opinion. But who am I? I'm just a nurse. Keep your mouth shut so you don't have to get a lock and a sock up against your head and have seizures for the rest of your life. And think like a 6th, 7th grader or even younger. Don't get the lesson of the lock and the sock. Thank you for coming. Please subscribe to my page or my channel, whatever it's called on YouTube. You can also check me out on TikTok, same name, Nurse Against Racism, at That Black Nurse. Then you can see me on Instagram, same thing, as well as on Facebook. I'd like for you to subscribe, please, to Nurses Against Racism. And this is dedicated once again to Miss Leslie Howard Falls. She's a registered nurse down there in Pamlico Bay Borough. Yeah, you pissed me off. Like I said, I'm coming. And I will mention your name every single time until I can't mention it anymore. Hope you're doing well. White people look out for white people. She still got her job, even though she talked about one of the lieutenants in his package, and they work together. Have a good day.